So here's the thing. I get this a lot. What's the difference between yoga and Zen? Now, again, like everything else, I can answer this question with several different hats, and none of those answers might fulfill you. You might have intellectual curiosity that gets created out of it. You might have a strong sense of spiritual urgency that might make you meditate or go to Isha Yoga Center in Coimbatore or do a unified mindfulness program or go for a retreat. That's very possible. You might envision new things and create a startup. You might also play a sport. You might become an actor, actress, a presenter, a data analyst, a software engineer, a marketing expert after I answer this question or try to answer it. And the truth is, you should just hear me out. First thing is, Zen is not a keyword. It's not a keyword, neither is it your security token. Because if you did Zen, you'd know the answer to that. The fact that some of you probably don't do Zen is the reason why I say it's not a keyword or it's not a token. Because Zen is not something you do. Zen is the way. Zen is the way. So then what is yoga? You would say, oh, yoga is the set of, it's Surya Kriya, it's Angamardana, it's Shunya meditation, it's beer yoga, it's dance yoga, it's Zumba. You might say all these things in your head. Very possible. Sorry for getting too dramatic there, but that's what I'm trying to convey. I'd say Zen is the way and yoga is a science. Yoga is a science. Zen is the way, yoga is the science. Now I said that you don't do Zen, you just are Zen. That's what it is about. Now to the second part. Yoga is a science. How do you learn science? Through experiments. Think about it. Now, you don't do yoga either. You either are in yoga or you're not in yoga. What do we mean by yoga here? Well, yoga is union with yourself and the cosmos, and you see both yourself and the cosmos, the self and other, as two separate, and you also see it as one, unified. You see that together, simultaneously expanding and contracting, where then flow enters. That is yoga. One definition of it, which again I said it might not leave you fulfilled. You might not be happy with this answer, but you might get so unhappy that you might then try to understand what happiness is. That's the fun part. So I said you don't do yoga. You might do a yoga practice. You might do an asana, which is a practice within yoga. And you then attain this realization that we call yoga. Yoga with a capital Y. Yoga with a small y would be the practice. Now, once you reach that realization, you might be very compelled to think that Zen and yoga are different. Or Zen is something else and yoga is something else, and it's like two far ends of a spectrum. And oh, I'm so Zen, how do I do yoga? You might get there. Or you might be, oh, I'm such a yogi. I'm not into this Zen. I'm not into this Zen thing. I'm such a yogi. And that, my friends, is the fallacy. Because if you had the ultimate realization, you wouldn't make such arguments, or you wouldn't even talk about it. I'm talking about it because there's a need for it. People need to know this. Otherwise, I'm not the kind of person who will sit in front of a camera to make a video and desperately try to put out a point that most people today fail to see. You see where we're getting at? So let's come back to the topic. I said there's yoga and there's Zen and there's yoga. There's yoga and there's Zen and there's yoga. You can place it on whichever side you want. It doesn't matter. So I said enough about yoga. Let me tell you a little bit about Zen. And the truth is, I'm not going to tell you anything about Zen. I'm going to tell you something about Zen, but I'm not going to talk about anything related to Zen. Yes, that's the point. I will talk about Parinirvana or Mahasamadhi. That's like one of the most upper division topics that these realized beings probably understand. So I will talk about this topic today. And before you make any conclusions or before you draw any false assumptions, remember, greed, hatred, and delusion are the three poisons. So sometimes an assumption can be a poison. So it's okay, you might have some poison in your system, but it's never too late to have an antidote and release it from your system. Coming back to the topic. Do we have time? Yes, we have time. Let's talk about Mahasamadhi. I see a lot of people hurling insults, or I'd say bad comments. I would not like to say the word bad, but demeaning, disrespectful comments towards Sadhguru because some of you all say he killed his wife. I'm sorry to break your delusion chamber here, but that's not what Mahasamadhi is. Because if you've never sat in a meditation posture, or if you've never known what meditation is all your life, or if you've never heard the word meditation, or if meditativeness is not in your qualities, you might exist. You might exist. But Mahasamadhi, I will explain it to you in like a very textbook, nerdish way. I hope you understand it. Mahasamadhi is when the 5 elements of the human system completely dissolve. There is every sheath of the human system, the physical, the mental, the energetic, the etheric, and the bliss sheath, they completely dissolve into the cosmos of the void. Which means someone who has attained Mahasamadhi could take on any form that they wish. But for which there has to be presence of some desire. When a person has attained Mahasamadhi, there's no trace of desire. So taking another form without desire can be a very difficult task. Now, whether that's possible or not, I'd say it's possible. But I won't go into the details of how or what in this video. But you need to understand that your karmic structure is what keeps you here. So a person who's attained Mahasamadhi has totally dissolved all karma. whether it's in our ordinary language, good karma, bad karma. I don't personally distinguish it that way. I think of it as currency. You either have currency or you don't have currency. You either have karma or you don't have karma. That's how I distinguish karma, or karma if you have to say in Pali. Uh, but with no memory and with no storage unit, memory unit and storage unit to function even beyond ether and even beyond a state of absolute bliss, or heaven as we call it, is it's a state of complete dissolution. So before I'll make any comments like this about things like, or I won't even call it a concept, about life experiences like a Mahasamadhi, please do your practice. Thank you. Cheers.